Here is the rewritten version of your script. The length and meaning have been preserved. May 7th, 1945, 11:47 a.m. near Reims, France. Europe's war was hours from its official end when U.S. intelligence personnel finally assembled their full inventory of seized German hardware. Lieutenant Colonel Robert Hayes was in a repurposed schoolhouse, encircled by file cabinets filled with aerial photos, seized shipping lists, and interview transcripts. A single figure stopped him cold. 9,046. This was the total tally of SDKFC, 11 half-tracks the Wehrmacht manufactured between 1938 and the German collapse. Hayes jotted in his field notes the thought all Allied logistics officers shared. How did we overlook this? How did they make so many? The question plaguing Allied intelligence during the war's final years was simpler and more damning than was comfortable to admit. How had Nazi Germany, a country choked by strategic bombing, debilitated by fuel deficits, and bleeding manpower on 3 fronts, succeeded in producing almost 10,000 advanced tactical vehicles that formed the core of Wehrmacht mobility? The SDKFC-11 was not a Tiger tank or a V-2 rocket. It was not built to create terror or capture headlines. It was something much more insidious, a flawlessly engineered model of industrial pragmatism that let German artillery and anti-aircraft units stay mobile and deadly years after they should have been forced into static defense. What made the SDKFC-11 discovery especially galling to Allied commanders was its background. This was not Nazi ingenuity. The engineering groundwork had been established during the Weimar Republic, that short democratic period when Germany was theoretically disarmed and powerless. Behind closed doors at the Reichswehr's motor vehicle department, engineer Ernst Kniepkamp was discreetly solving the issue of off-road mobility before Hitler ever took power. Prior to 1933, as the world observed German democracy disintegrate, Kniepkamp was creating the chassis design that would subsequently permit German mechanized units to move through Polish marshes, French farmland, Russian steppes, and North African sand. The brilliance and the terror was in the decentralization. Kniepkamp's group did not build the vehicles themselves. They drafted specifications and subcontracted development to commercial companies, Borgward, Hanomag, Adler-Werke, Hoch, and the Czech firm Škoda following the annexation. Borgward began with the HLKL2 prototype in 1933, driven by a humble 71 horsepower Hansa Lloyd Type 3500L engine. But when Hanomag took over the project in 1938, they changed it into the HKL6, the production model that became the SDK-FZ-11. The improvement was substantial. A Maybach HL42 TRKM gasoline engine producing 100 horsepower paired with Hanomag's U50 transmission with 4 forward gears. Top speed 52.5 kilometers per hour. Fording depth 0.5 meters. Range sufficient to keep artillery batteries mobile across a whole operational theater. British tank crews that met these half-tracks pulling 10.5 centimeters Leaf H-18 howitzers in France during 1940 remarked on their unsettling efficiency. A report from the British Expeditionary Force archives states enemy artillery relocated with incredible speed. Positions spotted by aerial reconnaissance were empty within 90 minutes of our bombardment preparation. The Hun is employing tracked vehicles as prime movers with frightening effectiveness. What those British officers were observing was the SDK-FZ-11 doing precisely what it was built to do. Keep German guns moving quicker than Allied counter-battery fire could locate them. The SDK-FZ-11's actual strategic value only became apparent when Allied intelligence officers understood it shared its chassis with the SDK-FZ-251, the famous Hanomag armored personnel carrier that became the symbol of German mechanized warfare. Eisenhower's staff recorded this detail with reluctant respect in a 1944 internal memo. The Germans attained remarkable production efficiency via component standardization. Their half-track family employs interchangeable parts across several vehicle types, lowering manufacturing complexity and easing field maintenance. That common chassis meant Wehrmacht mechanics in Russia could strip a destroyed SDKF Z-11 artillery tractor to fix an SDKF Z-251 infantry carrier, or vice versa. The Schachterl-Aufwerk suspension system, those unique overlapping and interleaved road wheels on torsion bars, was not just engineering elegance. It was a force multiplier that permitted German mechanized units to keep vehicles operational under conditions that would have stalled Allied forces reliant on more specialized designs. The technical specifications narrate the story of German tactical thinking. The SDKF Z-11 had two primary variants: the artillery model with an ammunition bay dividing the driver's cabin from the crew space, and the engineer model with 3 bench seats and varied storage configurations. Both had convertible canvas tops and side panels. The vehicle could carry 8 troops as well as towing duties, making it a multi-role asset. Need to shift a 3.7-centimeter Flak 43 anti-aircraft gun to counter an Allied bombing threat? The SDKF Z-11 could tow it at highway speeds. Need to relocate a 10.5-centimeter howitzer battery before counter-battery fire lands? Done. Need to convey pioneers to the front with their equipment? The same vehicle managed all 3 tasks. By 1942, Wehrmacht inventories listed 40,200.9 SDKF Z-11 units in active service. This followed losses in Poland, France, the Balkans, and the initial disastrous winter in Russia. Regardless of the Eastern Front meat grinder and the growing intensity of Allied strategic bombing, German industry still produced 2,133 more units in 1943. An additional 1,308 came off assembly lines in 1944, the year Germany's industrial capacity was allegedly being methodically destroyed by round-the-clock bombing. Even Romania got 9 units in late 1942, a fact that showed Germany's confidence in their production capability. The total count surpassed 9,000 units. To put that in context, the United States manufactured roughly 41,000 M3 half-tracks during the entire war, but the U.S. economy was 5 times bigger and had no bomb damage to its factories. Germany manufactured nearly a quarter of America's half-track output, while concurrently building tanks, aircraft, submarines, and rockets under persistent aerial assault. The SDKF Z-11 was not just a tactical success. It was proof of German industrial resilience that Allied strategic planners had disastrously underestimated. When Lieutenant Colonel Hayes at last briefed his superiors on the SDKF Z-11 production figures, one general supposedly hurled the report across the room. "We spent 3 years trying to bomb their factories flat," he said, "and they still built 9,000 half-tracks we hardly knew existed." The final reason the SDKF Z-11 astounded Allied soldiers was not its armor or firepower. It had none. It was the understanding that Nazi Germany's strongest weapon was not technological superiority or tactical brilliance. It was a systematic industrial organization devised during peacetime, sharpened through commercial competition, and carried out with ruthless efficiency even as the Reich burned. The half-track that pulled artillery from Warsaw to Stalingrad, from Tobruk to Normandy, symbolized something more frightening than any wonder weapon. It symbolized what Germany could have accomplished if it had not been led by megalomaniacs who mistook propaganda victories for strategic sustainability. Those 9,000 SDKF Z-11s were a testament to German engineering excellence squandered in service of genocide and conquest. A warning story written in chrome molybdenum steel and Maybach engines left on roadsides from Berlin to the Elbe as the 1,000-year Reich fell apart in 12 vicious years.